In this video we are going to look at algebra problems when they have powers and how to solve them. So first step is to look at our power rules. So our power rules, when we have x squared and we're multiplying that to x to the 5, what we need to do is add those powers. So we're going to add 2 and 5 together and we're going to have 7. So it's going to be x to the power of 7. When we are dividing them, we are going to do the opposite of what we did with timesing, because multiplication and division are opposite, so addition and subtraction are opposite. So we're going to have x to the 5 and we're going to take away 2. So we're going to end up with x to the power of 3. If you were to have a scenario where you had a higher number on the bottom, so say you had x squared and you're dividing it by x to the 4, then you're going to have x to the 2 minus 4, so x to the negative 2. Or you can cross off 2 from the top and 2 from the bottom, and you'll be left with 1 over x squared. Okay, so x to the minus 2 and 1 over x squared are the same thing, and we'll talk about that again later. So when we have powers of powers, what we are doing is we are multiplying these two numbers together. So we have x to the 4 times 2, so we have x to the 8. If there was a number in front of the x, for example this 3 here, we would instead also square that number as well as multiplying your numbers together for your power. So we end up with 9 x to the 8. Just a note that x to the 0, so any number to the power of 0 is always 1, and don't forget that x to the minus 1 is equal to 1 over x, or x to the minus 2 is 1 over x squared. So basically that number there is telling you what the power is of the x at the bottom. So let's jump into some problems. So when we have 2 to the power of 3, and we are saying that that is equal to 2 to the power of b, then b has to be 3. There is no ways about it. We know the bases of those are the same. So we have 2 times 2 times 2, and here we have 2 times by itself, b times. Well, the only way that they can be equal is if b is equal to 3. So with that in mind, when we are looking at these problems, we are thinking, are the bases the same? If they are, then I can let the powers be equal to each other. So for this example here, we know that both of them are in base 3. So what we can do with that is we can make the powers equal. So we're going to have x plus 2 is equal to 6. And then we are going to solve this like we would a normal equation. So we'll take away 2 from both sides. So we'll get x is equal to 4. If we were to have a problem that involved our fractions like this, we first want to simplify that. So we know that what we need to do is we need to subtract the powers. So we need to do 4, 2x, take away x. Well, that's the same thing as 4x. Okay? In other words, you can cancel 1x from the top. So we know that we have 4 to the power of x, and that is going to be equal to 4 to the 8x. So we are going to let x be equal to 8x. So 0 is equal to 7x. So therefore, okay, 3 dots mean therefore, x is equal to 0. Okay? Because 0 divided by 7 is 0. Right, let's look at a power one. So first step is to simplify our powers. So we have 5 to the 2x plus 3x. So remember we have to add them, and that's going to be equal to 5 to the negative 2x. Now that our bases are the same and as simplified as possible, actually let's just quickly simplify this side a bit more. So we end up with 5 to the power of 5x is equal to 5 to the negative 2x. Then we can write our powers alone. Okay, and then we're going to gather x's on both sides. So we are going to move our negative 2x. So we're going to add 2x here, we're going to add 2x here, and we result with 7x is equal to 0. And we know x is equal to 0 as before. Right, let's look into when we have 1/2 is equal to 2 to the power of 2x times, okay, so a dot can also means times, 2 to the power of 4x. So our first step is we're going to look at this 1/2 and we're going to think, how can we write that as a power of 2? Well, we know that when it's the bottom, it's the same thing as the power, so the and negative of that power down there. So that power down there is a 1, so we have 2 to the minus 1 is equal to 2, and let's simplify this. So we have 2 lots of x plus 4 lots of x, so we're going to have 6 lots of x. So negative 1 is equal to 6x. So x is equal to negative 1 over 6. We have to divide both sides by 6. Right, lastly, I did not put in what it equaled. Let's look at this problem where you have 2 to the power of 3x plus 2 multiplied to 2 to the power of negative x minus 2 is equal to 4 to the power of 2x plus 1. Our first step is to worry about our left-hand side, so we will simplify that. So we have 2, and we know we have 3x, and we're going to take away 1, so we have 2x, so 2 to the power of 2x. And now let's worry about our whole numbers on there. So 1, take away 2, so negative 1. Okay, that's where that came from. And now let's look at our other side. So our right-hand side has a big problem, and that big problem is, let's circle it in red. That big problem is this 4. Well, what do we know about 4? We know that 4 is actually 2 times 2, or 2 squared. Okay, so we are going to actually rewrite this as a power of 2. Essentially, this here is equal to 2 to the power of 2 to the power of 2x plus 1. Okay, which is quite ugly to write out. So I am going to show you a simpler way of writing that out. So we have 2 to the power of 2, and then we're, instead of putting that to the power of, we are going to take our bracket and just put it next to the 2 at the top. So 2 to the power of 2x plus 1. I should have used other numbers rather than 2. But anyway, can't change it now. So once we have that, our bases are the same. I am going to worry about expanding this bracket later, once we have gotten them in a more simpler way. So 2x minus 1 is equal to 2, open bracket, 2x plus 1. So now we're going to expand our bracket on our right hand side and just copy down our left. And we are going to simplify it as we normally would. So what's our first step? Well, our first step is to gather our x's on one side. So we're going to take away 2x from both sides. So we're left with negative 1 is equal to 2x plus 1. And now we're going to get rid of this 1 here off both sides. So we're going to have negative 2 is equal to 2x, and then we're obviously going to divide by 2. And we are going to get a solution of that x is equal to negative 1. Okay, and you are solved.